So if you don't want to write down the whole problem, let's write down the keywords. You purchased a used car, and this is the equation representing the value of the car over time. What does the 5,000 represent in this situation? What is it telling me? The amount that you paid for the used car was $5,000. That's how much the car started off with. Well, not started off with because it was a used car. But that's how much you paid for the used car. Are we pretty good at picking out the initial value from the equation? What does the 0.9 represent? Is the 0.9 telling me growth or decay? Decay. Cars go down in value. And so the decay factor is the 0.9. This equation right here tells me how to find the decay rate from that. So the decay rate, I should write decay. The decay rate is 1 minus the 0.9, and then you multiply it by 100 to turn it into a percent, because rate means percent. So if you subtract that, you would get 0.1, multiply it by 100, and that would tell you that it is decreasing, decaying at 10% per year. That means, and so what this number is how much is left after it does that much decaying. You have that much written down? Okay. So how many years will it take the car to be worth less than $500? To figure that out, the best way to figure that out is to use Desmos and to use a table. So, Desmos, my equation was y equals 5,000.9 raised to the x power. Okay, how do I get a table? Year, table. Now, I don't need negative numbers in my table because x represents years. I'm not going to talk about negative years. And so 1, 2, or even close to $500. No, I'm going to skip, instead of doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm going to skip down to 10 years. Is that close to? It's closer, but it's not very close. So I'm going to skip count. Are we getting closer? And maybe 21, 22. Are we getting closer? We're going to go in. Let me double check. Did I type my equation correctly? I don't believe I did. I mistyped my equation. Okay. So I mistyped the equation when I went back and fixed it. Now are we getting closer to 500. On 21 years, are we under 500? On 22 years, are we under 500? Okay, so it helps when you type the equation correctly. So, after how many years will the car be worth less than $500? Now, do you see how to use the table to figure that out? But it's important that you type the equation correctly in the table. A baseball card you bought can be modeled by this equation. What does the 250 represent? The initial value, or the cost of the baseball card, originally was $250. That's going to be a special baseball card if it costs $250. And what is this telling me? Is it telling me that it is growing in value? What does this tell me? Growth or decay? So the growth factor is that number right there. The growth factor is the number in the equation. To get the growth rate, I have to use this equation right here. So to get the growth rate, 1.12 subtract 1 times it by 100 to change it into a percent. You take the 1 off and you times it by 100. This is increasing it in cost, price and value at 12%. Since it doesn't tell me any different, that's 12% per year. In a previous example we looked at, it was per day because it said per day in the problem. If it doesn't tell you what the time period is, then the default is per year. How much will this baseball card be worth in 5 years? This X number represents the number of years. So you will put this in your calculator, Desmos, multiplied by 1.12 raised to the 5th power. Not times the number 5, but raised to the 5th power. This is money. Money has 2 decimal places. 5.85 rounds off to 0.59. So you put that in your calculator to calculate the 4.40.59.